Friends, allies, foes, former members, and honored guests. Today, we gather here at the Escalator Memorial to remember a very important part of the history of this group. Before us stands a monument to a man whose leadership shaped one of the earliest conflicts in the history of the USU. Escalator, the leader of the National Republican Army of Russia, stood at the center of the NRA Civil War during a time when corruption threatened to consume the CSTO from within. The USU chose to fully support and even fight alongside the NRA, proving that we were willing to stand up against corruption during urgent times, that could act quickly even when the result was unknown, and that the USU could cooperate with other groups toward shared goals. It was this that the USU first showed that it would last despite under heavy tensions. This memorial not only stands for Escalator, but for that moment in history when the USU proved it was willing to stand up for something greater than itself. Behind me, you could see the flags of every group that the USU has ever interacted with. Each one of these flags tells a story. Some were allies such as the NRA, Nexuslavo, Hungary, and Vietnam. Some were directly connected to us, such as Transnistria, Nigeria, Ossetia, Belarus, and Luxembourg. Some were rivals, such as Iran, NATO, ISWAP, and more. Some were rebellions in which we learned from, such as the Crimean Tatars and the USC. Some were both our allies and enemies at some point, such as the United States, Russia, United Kingdom, and China. However, the front row tells a much more significant story that helped make the USU what it is today. The first USU flag, which you could see on the far right of the first row, marks our origin as a communist insurgency. These were the very first days of the USU. This is where we started. A lot has happened since then. And the second USU flag, just to its left, represents the USU's transformation into an anti-corruption organization, moving away from that communist insurgency and its ideals. And the current USU flag, which is directly behind me, stands today as the symbol of the professional and disciplined organization that we have built. Other flags in these front rows, such as Belgium, Crimea, and Chosian, represent a period known as the USU Golden Age, a period of growth, influence, and legacy that laid the foundation of everything we are today. See, history is not written only by victories. Off to the side, as you can see, holds something very, very important that I would like to point out. The side dumpster holds flags of groups that earned their place there. Polvera and Palmyra, both led by a guy named Ryuki, committed disgusting, unspeakable crimes, including pedophilia and vorophilia, in which such acts had no place. Their place in the dumpster is very well deserved, and it represents exactly where history has placed them, among the trash. The USU liberated Nexuslavo from Polvera with a score of 1,028, an incredible feat for the USU at the time. Another group there, which you might recognize, named Nifon, started off as a decent group, but quickly fell in the chaos of the new leadership. They refused to pay off their debts to Chosian, they backed the URCC against the USU, and enforced segregation. They rejected any races besides their own and Chosian's, despite the USU's Slavic roots. It was discovered that also pornography was being shared in their group. And general basic channels too. Thankfully, however, the USU and Chosian came out victorious, and the flag of Satanic Nifon lies among the trash. Yet another group in there is the URCC, and its variant, the URC. They escalated wars to extreme measures, even deploying a nuclear weapon against the Orient Empire. The devastation was so bad that the Orion Empire was forced to reform back to the Orion Republic. The leader of the URCC, Selharame, ultimately met his end in Donsk and was killed by the USU. The URCC had very close ties to Polvera and Nafon, so they belong in this dumpster. Now, I would like to take some time to do something very important. It is in my honor to recognize two members who have left an everlasting impact on the USU organization. The first award goes to Shadow Vanguard Captain Julianish Rox Van Kolsch. Since the USU's founding on March 22nd, 2024, Julian has been present in countless operations, showing intense courage from his daring missions as a pilot during the USU-Iran War to carrying out Operation Kingfall during the USU-Belgian War. His actions have been legendary. During his time as the Premier of the People's Republic of Crimea, he was the reason for the stabilization and growth of the region. For these feats, he is awarded the Medal of Courage and Honor. The second award goes to Senior Director Jason Ratsniffer Bean. Ratsniffer joined the USU during the Belgian conflict and has become the backbone of our organization, mastering intelligence, counterintelligence, and more. From preventing infiltration to security necessities and ensuring the success of operations, Ratsniffer has protected and safeguarded the USU at every turn. For all of this, he was awarded the highest honor in USU history, the Medal of the Red Star. Sadly, he could not make it out tonight, but I want him to recognize that we appreciate everything he has done for this group. These medals are more than just a recognition. They are principles, courage, and loyalty that defines the USU. Let their examples inspire every member present and every future enlistee. Finally, I am glad to announce a new chapter in the story of Crimea. The Crimean Republic will be founded, built on the lessons and the ideals of the USU rather than the previous communist direction. While the USU will continue to operate here, this marks a new era where our mission expands from the protection and stabilization to supporting a thriving and independent Crimean state. 2 years ago, I founded this group only as a backup for another group that I owned. It has turned into so much more than that. 2 years ago, the USU started as something small. Today, it stands as an organization shaped by conflict, alliances, sacrifices, and victories. Every flag behind me marks a chapter in that story. Some chapters we celebrate, some we learn from, but all have brought us to where we are today. We honor the past, we learn from our mistakes, and we celebrate the courage of those who stood beside us. Empires rise, nations fall, and alliances change, but the USU prevails. And as long as that flag behind me stands, the story of the USU is far from over. Today we honor our past, celebrate the present, and look to the future. For the USU is not just an organization. It is a legacy, eternal and unbroken.